You're listening to the Holistic Health Front podcast.
Whether you've already taken steps towards a healthier life,
or you're just starting to explore this path,
this podcast aims to help all of us live longer and more energized lives,
so we can all do the things we want and be the person we know we can be.
We bring on functional health experts, parents, professionals, and everyday people who want to make positive changes in their lives.
And we create powerful conversations about how to feel good in a fun, easy, and understandable way,
so you can live the most fulfilling life possible.
Enjoy today's discussion and let us hear your thoughts in our Powerful People Facebook group.
The information presented in this podcast is not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease.
If you have any questions about your health or the health of a loved one, please consult your healthcare practitioner.
Now let's begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Front podcast. Today, we're talking about sugar and all the implications it has on your health. And we're going to challenge some beliefs today, I think. So my name is Tyler and joined today with Stephanie. Stephanie, could you say hi?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back to the show. So happy to have you here with us. If you're watching on video, I don't know if you can tell, but my eye might look a little red and puffy. I've had some allergies today, and I know not to itch my eye. I know not to itch my eye. If it's itchy, you got to fight it. Don't do it. I don't have any allergy drops with me. So, and I was doing so well, but then just next thing I knew, I found myself. And then once you do that once, it's like a mosquito bite. And,
I know. It's terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
So that if you're watching on video, maybe you might notice that it's starting to look a little better. So, but no worries. All good. Just allergies.
Tyler's worried that we're going to think something else about his glassy, red eyes.
Or as like a health coach, right? Like as a health coach, I feel there's a little extra pressure, when you're presenting yourself, you want to look healthy, right? But that's not the reality. Like health coaches get sick sometimes. Health coaches get allergies sometimes. The thing is though, is that we really listen to our bodies and we really acknowledge what our needs are and we support each other. That's the whole point of a coach is to support and guide, right? So, I
mean, it makes sense to me because you were telling me that there's been some construction in your area and in your thing. And so they're stirring up dust. They're doing all sorts of stuff in your environment. So it makes sense that you would have a response to it.
100%. Yep. Yeah. And I live in Mexico City, which is just naturally a little more polluted than a lot of other places.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're good. Today we're talking about sugar. Yes. And so sugar, I hear a lot of people talking about, a lot of people are aware of the fact that sugar does have an implication on our health. And, it's not wise to just binge eat as much sugar as we possibly can. Where there's a little more awareness around this. And the thing that I hear a lot of people saying is, my goal is to eliminate the sugar from my diet. And I want to eat a whole lot less. Like I'm fine with, limiting the amount of sugar that you're consuming. But that I hear this often. And most people who know me or have heard my mom's story with her cancer and everything, a lot of people who have known me for a while, they automatically assume that I'm very anti-sugar because it feeds cancer, blah, 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 right? But I might surprise you here. I'm going to really challenge some beliefs, and I'm going to leave you with that as a little teaser hook because we're going to challenge some beliefs with sugar, and we're going to reframe the way that we think about consuming sugar. And not just consuming sugar, but just our overall levels of sugar in our body and what other things can contribute to the levels of sugar that we have in our body. But just to give you a quick rundown of what to expect in this episode, we want to start. I have my notes over to the side here, so you might see me look down into the left or right, depending on your perspective of me, just kind of glancing to make sure I cover everything I want to cover here. But we were going to talk a little bit about what sugar is from a chemical perspective. And don't worry, we're not going to get super sciencey. We're going to keep it pretty simple and high level. But I think it's important for us to all have this understanding together. And we're also going to talk a bit about how sugar gets converted into energy. And then from there, we're going to talk a little bit about what are some of the negative implications that can come from over-consuming sugar. And then we're going to get into, Stephanie has some amazing things to share with us about, other ways besides just eating consuming food that our sugar levels can be affected.
Yeah.
And we're going to share some fun tips to keep everything balanced and healthy so that you feel energy, but you're not getting sick from overconsumption, anything like that. So it's going to be a really constructive episode. I think this is going to be the kind of an episode that you listen to and you find yourself telling your friends about, sharing the new facts, fun facts that you've learned from this. So definitely some social, some social proof or social, what's the word, whatever it is. You can take this information to a party and share it with some friends and they'll think that you're really smart, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Great party thing. Hey, you want to know what that piece of cake is doing to your blood sugar? I just learned this from Tyler and Stephanie.
You will be the coolest person at your party.
Absolutely. People are going to love you.
So thinking about sugar, right? Like sugar, when it comes down to it, I don't think of sugar as just the white powdery stuff that we put on our food or in our oatmeal or whatever. I think of sugar as kind of three different things, right? Glucose, fructose, sucrose. And we can kind of separate those a little bit. Fructose and sucrose, that is where you're getting more into the much more damaging side of sugar, right? Like these have a lot more negative implications on our health. Glucose, however, there's good and bad of it. We have to look at both sides of this, but glucose is one of the primary drivers of energy in our body. Like this is one, like the fuel that gives us energy to go about our days. So the idea of eliminating sugar from your diet or just trying to be as low sugar as possible is a little bit flawed because we do need glucose in order to burn into energy. And thinking about how that works, I want you to imagine like a steam engine, a train, right? And there's somebody who works on a train who, at least back in the day, I don't know, modern trains, maybe this is different, but at a certain point on a steam train, there's somebody whose job it is to shovel coal into a furnace, into the flames of the furnace to create steam. And that's what powers the whole thing so it can move. And there's a very similar thing going on inside of our body. So we have these things called mitochondria that is essentially that person on the train who is taking the raw materials, i.e. glucose, and they're converting it into energy, into like a chemical form of electricity that powers every cell in our body. And every cell of our body is impacted by the levels of glucose that we have. And if you think about it like that, if you think of that person on the train and they're shoveling coal to get into the flame, one, if they're not getting enough coal, well, then eventually that flame's going to go out. And now you don't have the energy to actually power the whole, vehicle, which is the train or our body. But if you start giving that person way too much coal and they're getting bogged down by it, it's to the point where it's taking up all the space in the room. They can no longer get it into the furnace. They're getting smothered by it. Eventually they can't work anymore. They stop working. And then you're getting a very similar effect where, you're not converting that raw material into energy. So boom, low energy. And now all your cells are affected, which means all of your organs and all of your different systems in your body. But it's very similar, right? So when we take in glucose, we're essentially giving that raw material to our mitochondria for them to convert into energy. If we give them too much, we're going to give them, overpower them essentially until they burn out and shut down and stop working. Right.
You're going to overload the system.
Exactly, right? So it's more about a balance. It's not about getting no sugar or getting more sugar, because you also hear of people who think like, oh, I don't have much energy. I need an energy drink so I can get that sugar in my body because I'm feeling low energy. Right. There's a balance. It's not about taking a bomb of sugar either, right? And really what we're looking at here is our glucose spikes. If we get a drastic spike in our glucose levels, that's typically almost always followed by a drastic drop in our glucose levels, and that's where we start to feel like those hangover effects, and that's where we start to have the real like the oxidative stress on our bodies. And one fact that is not so fun to think about, but it's really important to consider, is from the moment we were born until the moment we die, or even beyond the moment that we die, but from the moment that we're born, the inside of our body is browning. It's turning brown. And it's inevitable. It's what happens with age. So the cells of our body, there's this browning effect that's going on, and we can't stop that from happening. But what we can do is slow that process down. And and this is what's called glycation. If whenever your cells or your organs, whatever, they become super brown, they're not functioning, they're dying essentially. And by getting too much glucose spikes, speeds that process up. So whenever you like are binge eating candy or whatever, like high sugar foods, you're essentially speeding up the aging process in our body. And then it's creating a process called oxidative stress, which is where essentially something is coming into your body that isn't supposed to be there, or is way too much of that thing. And it's causing damage to the cells of your body because they kind of freak out whenever they come into contact with these things. And over time, it can create damage that can lead to a whole lot of issues, a whole lot of issues that could come from that. And speaking of a whole lot of issues that come from it, we know sugar is bad for us, right? A lot of people know sugar is bad for us, but and by sugar, I mean glucose spikes. Let's retrain the way that we think about this. It's not sugar is bad for you. Some sugar is, because some sugar is just pure fructose.
Right.
Some sugar is just pure sucrose. And of course, there's some good things that have high levels of fructose, right? Like pineapple, right? Pineapple is high in fructose, but it also has positive benefits to it. And that's why you hear the statement of too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. So you have to be weary of the balance, right? This episode is brought to you by oxygen and carbon dioxide. Breathe deep, breathe slow. Are you tired of nagging headaches, body pains, and feeling like you've been steamrolled by 2 p.m.? Want to feel more alive with a clearer mind, voice, and skin?
Yep.
And not to mention getting rid of that pesky BO when the deodorant starts to wear off?
Ew.
Introducing to you today, water. Did you know that 75% of American adults are chronically dehydrated? And did you know that majority of people who are dehydrated think that they actually are hydrated? That means most people are not drinking enough water. But if they did, and they realized how much of a massive difference it makes in how they feel to be hydrated, they would realize that water can change their life. So drink more water. Aim for 96 fluid ounces per day minimum for adults. Side effects include peeing more often the first couple of weeks, but don't worry, it will slow down soon. I know I should really drink less caffeine. I just wish there was some way of getting energy in the morning without a coffee. The sun! Wait a minute. I feel good. Especially when I close my eyes and stare at the sun through my eyelids. Wow, this is great. I think I'm ready to crush this day now. Thanks, sun. The Sun. Use it for free with care. Hey y'all, hope you've enjoyed these goofy little commercials. The information is all accurate and valid, so please use the tips we shared. Even though we're having fun and being silly recording them, they're still 100% meant to support you and entertain you. We'll be getting back to the show in just a minute, but first, I want to really encourage you to join our free community on Facebook. It's called the Powerful People Community, and it's a place where you can interact with other listeners of the show, including me, our other coaches and co-hosts and everybody. And it's a place where you can ask questions publicly or anonymously. You can request episode topics, you can share your story, and celebrate with a group of really amazing people who will also be celebrating you. So we really hope to see you in the community. We think we're building something really special because we believe when you bring together a group of powerful people, there's just so many great things we can do in this world, more than we could do on our own. So we're building a special community and we hope to talk to you there soon. Now, let's get back to the show. But thinking about some of the negative effects that come from glucose spikes, right? Like whether simple things like wrinkles or something that, right?
Yeah. Simple
things like wrinkles, and all the way to I wrote down a list just so
go for it. Let's hear your list, Tyler.
from wrinkle, like everything from wrinkles to cataracts, heart disease, Alzheimer's, low energy, bad mood, food cravings. Like these are all side effects of these glucose spikes and then drops.
And I'm going to add to that hormone dysregulation, brain fog, mental clarity, fatigue, sleep interruptions. Absolutely.
100%, right? And then the other thing, inflammation.
Huge.
And inflammation is linked to most chronic diseases. Inflammation is, and not just regular inflammation, but chronic inflammation.
Right.
Inflammation that doesn't, because it's part of the body's healing process
to
have inflammation. And that's a good thing. If you injure a part of your body, you're expecting it to swell up, right? It should, but what it should also do is then ease up and let the blood flow come back in.
Right.
And with chronic inflammation, that leads to most chronic illnesses, right? Strokes, heart disease, liver disease, respiratory diseases, diabetes. So, it's holistic, just like everything when it comes to our health. The negative implications that can come from eating, like getting these glucose spikes. But then also there's a lot of benefits too if you can balance those glucose spikes.
Absolutely. Your body needs glucose. There's only two, the body uses two sources for energy. It's either going to come from, glucose or it's going to come from fat. So, depending on where you are. So your body needs glucose. It's definitely part of our energy. Like you said, it powers our body. The other source of energy you can get from fat. So our body uses it. I mean, it's part of our biological makeup, but it's making sure that we regulate it in a way and modulate it so that it's not too much of one thing and then overflows. Like you said, it overpowers the mitochondria, overpowers the system, and then everything's just a mess, So it's very important. It's not about getting rid of it. It's about understanding it.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that I share with my clients, and this is something that gets, like, oh, wait, are you serious? Oh, really? Like I get like these responses when I share this, but balancing your glucose spikes isn't about removing certain foods, right? As a health coach, I'll never tell somebody to stop eating their favorite snack because that brings you joy, right? Yeah. And that's a big thing I hear from a lot of people is pushback is I don't want to have a health coach because I know what you're going to tell me to do. You're going to tell me to stop eating my pizza or stop eating my cookies.
I get the same thing. They're like, you're going to tell me to quit smoking my cigarettes. I'm going to go, nope, we're going to do things that are going to support you. And when, everything is connected. So that's the thing about integrative wellness is it's everything. It's not just one thing. We're not just going to talk about what we're putting in our mouth. We're going to talk about all parts of your life.
Mm-hmm. And at some point you get to a point where you're just like, I don't want the cigarettes anymore. I don't want this. I don't need them. I don't need the cookies. I don't want the cookies. But our goal isn't to come in and get you to stop doing those things that you enjoy.
Never.
Our goal is to help you build a supportive lifestyle around that so that you're feeling so good that you're not having those cravings as often. Or it's in a more controlled, intentional way.
Absolutely. It's not about getting rid of it. You will never, ever make me give up cookies. I mean, cookies are part of my family's tradition. My grandmother brought over her recipe from France. We call them French cookies. They bring so much joy and fellowship to my family. You're never going to see me stop making them. So it's not about giving those things up. It's about understanding how you can, like you said, round out your lifestyle so that when you do have those types of things, it's balanced, it's strengthening that, just like you strengthen a muscle, So yeah, I'm just going to claim right now, Steph's never given up cookies. So if you are worried about it, hang on, because you're going to, all those people are like, go Steph. I'm never giving up cookies, guys. But we're going to talk about what we can do so that your body can survive when, and modulate and regulate and balance, when you are in those times where you're enjoying those types of things.
Totally. Yeah. And for me, the biggest thing, I highly recommend this book. I have it sitting right next to me. This book is amazing. It's called The Glucose Revolution.
Oh, yeah, it's a great book.
Right?
Great book.
I don't know how to say her last name exactly. But great book, Glucose Revolution. The author goes by the Glucose Goddess on Instagram. She has an amazing Instagram account as well, where she shows charts of if you eat certain foods, this is what your glucose spike looks like. Right. But one of the things she talks in there about, which I've been experimenting with for almost 2 years now, and it's just been fantastic, is look at the order in which you eat your food. because that is what has one of the largest impacts on your glucose spikes, right? And that's why looking at her Instagram account is really cool, because you can see the difference between eating a slice of cake on an empty stomach versus eating a slice of cake after a salad. And what a drastic difference that makes on
huge.
your on your glucose levels. So that's
and
one
why
strategy.
Is that, let's talk about that. Why is that, Tyler? Why is eating a salad before my piece of cake? Why does that matter? Let's talk about that.
Sure. So the way she describes it in the book, and she's already done it perfectly well, so I don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just going to share what Jessie says, and I'm going to highly recommend everybody read her book because it's amazing. And I'm not affiliated with her in any way. I've never met her before. I would love to have her on the podcast, but we don't know her. So if anybody does, intro would be great. But the way she describes your digestive tract is, think of it as like a sink, right? So you've got your sink. If you see me on video, I've got my hands kind of like in a big U shape, like a bottom of a sink. But at the bottom of that sink, you've got a drain pipe that's a little bit skinnier, right? And if you go straight with the glucose, if you go straight with the sugar, the sweets, the carbs, those absorb a lot faster into your bloodstream. So if they're going straight down the drain. They're not getting, stuck in the sink. They're going straight down the drain. They're going straight into your bloodstream, and it has an immediate effect on your blood sugar level, obviously, since they're going in your bloodstream. But if you can put some fibers first, if you can put fiber, protein, fat in that sink first, those things all digest a little slower. And so now you're basically putting a base inside of that sink, so that when the glucose lands on top of that, it's kind of being regulated how fast it's going down the drain, and being regulated how fast it actually goes into your bloodstream. Now you're not getting it all in one go. Right? Yeah. So what's this look like at a party, right? So you go to a party and there's a veggie tray, and there's also a dessert tray, and there's also alcohol, and there's also the fun drink that somebody spent so much time doing. And so I know what Tyler just said, my high fiber foods, my high fat foods, my proteins, and there's always like a meat and cheese tray, right? So I'll go over and fill up my tray, and I'll eat my carrots and celery sticks and, all my veggies. I'll turn around and, maybe get some, pieces of cheese and meat or whatever that is, before I land over on the cookie tray, or before I indulge in that wonderful alcoholic beverage that has all those fun little syrups in it, all that type of stuff. So that's what it looks like. When you go to those types of parties, it's not about not partaking. It's about making sure you load up with the fibers, the fats, the proteins. So that's going to be your veggie tray, your meat and cheese tray, and things like that. And then after you've done that, then you're going to move over to, your desserts or some of your more simple carbohydrates. Those are going to be, that are going to break down more quickly. So that's just an example of what that looks like if you show up at a party, by the way. 100%. If you're going out to dinner, you're going to eat your salad first, those types of things. And then you're going to have your meal after that. So, because a lot of people on this podcast are like, what's the difference between your simple carbs and your complex carbs and your proteins and your fats? So I was just giving an example of what that looks like, in real time. For sure. Yeah, no, and it works great for parties, especially if you bring your own food. Then, most people are going to bring the fun stuff to the party. Yeah. If you can bring, and you can listen, a salad can be fun. I think a salad is extremely fun. Me too. You can make some amazing, delicious salads. But if you can bring that to the party, and even if you're not going to a party, but just thinking about it in general, just like that, if you can eat your veggies first, your proteins and your fats, and you can mix them together. You don't have to do like strictly, all right, broccoli, and now chicken, and now cheese. Yeah. No, you can mix it together. Yeah. That works. But you want to have those before you have your carbs and before you have your sweets. Right.
Yeah, like hummus dip is one of my favorite things to do. You can dip your vegetables in hummus, make all sorts of really great hummus, red pepper hummus, garlic hummus. I'm a huge hummus person. I'm also big. One of the things that I bring a lot is I do homemade guacamole quite a bit. That's kind of my thing. And so homemade guacamole is just chock full of fat, omega, it's got your omega-3 fats. And then, you've got your diced vegetables in it and things like that. And then, of course, I usually when I do bring a chip that goes with it, it's usually one that is organic. It's usually a little higher in fiber. And then I also bring vegetables because you can dip your guacamole, using vegetables and stuff like that. You don't have to, avoid those types of things. A lot of people, I know that for years we were taught to avoid fats, and now the science is finally coming up with what Mother Nature has always known, which is no, your natural fats are very beneficial to your body. So, and you're going to get that, with your treats. Well, even with your salad, that Tyler's talking about, you can drizzle your olive oil and your different, things on that, that are going to up that. So you got your fiber in your vegetables and your fat in your salad dressing, and you might have, some sort of meat or cheese or whatever, got your protein in it. Before you know it, your salad alone is mega dosed with all sorts of good things that are going to slow down that blood glucose spike when you do eat.
100%. Right. And it doesn't always just have to be salads either. You can, think about lentils, think about beans, think about quinoa, chickpeas. Those are all good. And I know I can already hear somebody saying, but wait, quinoa has carbs. Yeah, I know, but there's a difference. There's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Like they're high. It's high in fiber, and that's what matters.
Very high in fiber.
There's a difference
and proteins.
between yeah, exactly. There's a difference between that versus like a slice of bread or tortillas or chips. You know what I mean? So a little bit different carbs, even though yes, technically veggies have carbs in them. Yes, technically quinoa has carbs in them.
We're not avoiding carbs. Carbs are good. This is not about bashing carbs. Yeah.
But those simple carbs, that's what you want to save for after you have your fiber, protein, fats, right?
Absolutely.
And then go for the carbs, and then go for the sweets, right? And that's why it's more of a dessert instead of a snack. Think of it as a dessert instead of a snack.
Right.
A snack implies that you could have an empty stomach and you're like, oh, I just want a little snack to get me through until dinner.
Yeah.
Or whereas a dessert is I ate my meal and now the dessert comes, and you can enjoy that dessert guilt-free and live it up, really enjoy it because you've already had this good stuff for you. Yeah. You're doing significantly less damage to your body at that point. So have fun, like really cherish that brownie or cake or cookie or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And one of the things that a lot of people, when I'm working with a client, we're looking at different things that they can do and trying to limit your sugary drinks, because there's no fiber in a sugary drink. It literally goes straight into that bloodstream, spikes that glucose. So, if you sit down to a meal and you've had a sugary drink, and it doesn't matter what that sugary drink is. I mean, today coffee can be a sugary drink. I mean, with all the syrups and different things that we put in them. But, that's a lot of people are like, I can't change my lifestyle, but, give me something to do. I say substitute out a sugary drink for water. That will do huge impact on your blood glucose. The water is going to help process the toxins of the high glucose, but it's also going to eliminate the fact that you're, starting your day or going through your day with a sugary drink, and if you don't want water, you can do you can do some teas, you can do some lemonades. If you're like my daughter, you like to mix the teas and the lemonades together. She's always coming up with combinations. The citrus is very great for helping break down sugars as well. Anyway, so that's something to consider because a lot of people don't know where to start. Start with your beverage. What's in your drink?
That's a huge domino. It makes a really, really big difference. And
huge.
It's surprising too, because a lot of times when you think of a sugary beverage, soda, okay, pop, soda.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, it can be your morning coffee depending on what you're putting in it.
Right.
And also this is one that kind of challenged my beliefs as well. I used to be a big green juice kind of guy. Like, let me juice my veggies and put some orange juice in there and stuff like that. You're getting all the glucose without the fiber. Like you're basically just taking a glucose shot.
Yes.
So I've really had to challenge myself there and ask myself, do I really feel better, or am I just telling myself this because So I don't do fruit juices. I don't do orange juice.
Yeah.
Very occasionally, but I treat it like a dessert. I don't treat it like it's some healthy drink. I treat it like a dessert.
Yeah.
Right?
Years ago, somebody said, eat your fruit. Don't drink your fruit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a good one. And another thing for people who are going out or going to a party or things like that, yes, try to eat your food in the correct order as much as you can. This is not a test to be perfect though. Like, of course there's going to be times where you don't have other options. You're hungry, you're out. That's fine. Right. some things that you can do around that. Instead, if you can't eat in a certain order, or you can add this on top of eating in a certain order, and now you're getting, even better benefits here. Vinegar is a really good,
excellent.
If you drink like a tablespoon of vinegar in a cup of water right before you eat a meal, it's going to drastically reduce that spike.
Yeah.
So you can drink a tablespoon of vinegar and water right before your meal or right after your meal. And that's just a good, it's like a Band-Aid approach, right? If you can't eat in a certain order, but you can have some vinegar, which seems kind of weird now that I say it out loud, but I'm the kind of person that I have vinegar around. So sometimes we have a woman, amazing woman, who comes to our apartment each week and cooks some food for us. She cooks amazing meals. We just leave her the ingredients, and every once in a while she'll make some desserts for us, right? And we'll, if it's just not a time where we're having a meal, but we want to have a bite of that dessert, we'll do some vinegar, and then we'll eat it, and we eat it completely guilt-free. And that's I'm going to keep saying that. That's really important, that you eat your sugar guilt-free if you're doing it right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you're doing it right. Eat it guilt-free. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want to talk about that guilt, because I've been, energy medicine and energy healing is something I've been involved in for the last, 2 decades. And the energy and vibration of what you eat and when you eat. So guilt is a pretty heavy, vibration. And so if you're eating things that are creating all sorts of guilt, then it's not just the sugar that's going to negatively affect your blood glucose. It's the emotion and the feeling that goes with it. So I always tell everybody, eat guilt-free. Life is meant to be celebrated. Every community, every organization, every town across the world, everybody celebrates and creates community around food. Food is not a negative thing. And so let's eat our food in celebration. I can't tell you how many times I've had a client that'll text me and say, hey, I'm at the wedding. What do I do? I'm like, eat the wedding cake and toast the bride and groom with champagne, because the vibration of that will far outweigh any negative effects. Celebrate the love, the laughter, the connection. And so it's huge about how we feel about our food. And I tell everybody to bless your food in whatever blessing you want, in whatever religion you want, in whatever doctrine you want, or non-doctrine that you want. Bless your food. Be grateful for the food that you have, because literally the vibration of blessing your food, being grateful for your food, having some sort of appreciation for your food will literally change the vibration of the food, which literally changes the way that the food is broken down in your body. They've actually done all sorts of research on this. Dr. Emoto is from Japan, and he did all sorts of research on water. And he used water to test what it was like before it was blessed, after it was blessed, before it was prayed on, after it was prayed on, when it was done in community, when it was done alone. And it was super interesting. So if you're interested in how energy actually affects our food, water was one of the most neutral things that the doctor could use. But his name is Dr. Emoto. He's from Japan. And The Hidden Messages in Water is his book. Fascinating book, The Hidden Messages in Water. And it's sitting on my shelf over there, but if I get up and walk away, you guys won't see me. But remember the energy and vibration in which you eat things. Celebrate, the fact, and be happy. Gosh, there's so many people that do go without food, make sure that you live in gratitude and celebration of what you are consuming, regardless of what it is. It will affect your blood glucose completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. The water research was fascinating to me. I think it was the hydrogen particles in the water completely changed shapes depending on the emotion that was given to it. Right?
It's so cool. I could go grab the book and hold it up if I need to. I have to take my earplugs out because I'm attached.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so cool. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so here it is. It's The Hidden Messages in Water, Dr. Massimo Emoto. And I apologize if I am pronouncing his name incorrectly, because I'm sure I'm butchering it. So I just apologize right up front. I'm probably not saying that right. But this is fantastic. And and he did all sorts of studies on book and the energy and the vibration behind waters. But like Tyler was saying, he shows what they look like underneath the microscope. And then he shows what happens if a negative energy or negative word is said to it. Like you have this beautiful, picture of what a water molecule looks like, when it's been given a blessing, as opposed to what a water molecule looks like when something hateful has been said to it or whatever. And it all from the same source of water. So it was super interesting. His book is fascinating. And our bodies are 75 to 80% water. So eat in joy, eat in love, eat in gratitude. It definitely affects you and your blood glucose.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
The only other points that I want to add to this is a couple other things, right? Like we mentioned eating your food in a certain order. We mentioned blessing your food and having great gratitude and these positive feelings towards your food, and actually speak your words to your food. That's next level.
Huge.
That's the next level stuff.
It's huge.
The other, and then also drinking vinegar water as a kind of tool to use. If you can't eat in a certain order, you only have access to a certain kind of food.
Well, and I'm just going to add to that. They now have I know that I'm able to recommend their little gummies, and they're apple cider vinegar gummies. So if you can't take your vinegar with you to your, to your Christmas party or your holiday party, you can actually get apple cider gummies that you can take. And it's going to have the similar effect that Tyler's talking about with the tablespoon of vinegar that's in the water. So, because I'm sure people are listening going, how the hell am I going to have a shot of vinegar, right before I go out to dinner, right? Apple cider vinegar gummies are really, really, I recommend them all the time to my clients. So they're fantastic for that.
And I'll say it's not just any kind of vinegar. Like we're not talking about like white vinegar. It's got to have the probiotic strands in it.
It does.
We're looking for, it should say with the mother.
It
Brad's
does.
is usually like the most popular brand, but you can find other brands as well. It's not any kind of vinegar. It's like apple cider vinegar with the mother is what you're looking for essentially.
And the gummies that I recommend to my clients, same thing. You know what I mean? It's a very specific type of, apple cider, that's good for digestion and aids and all that type of stuff. So just something to keep in mind.
I'm curious about that. I've been a little biased towards the gummies. I've actually told people not to do the gummies, but it really came from one, the people I was talking to had vinegar, and like they were just saying, should I do is it okay? But what I assume that the gummies probably like have sugar in it, or the gelatin is not the best. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
obviously
you have to be very careful. The company that I'm associated with is extremely careful about what they're, it's all natural. You don't want any bad dyes in there. You want to make sure that the source, there is a little bit of sweetening agent in there, but it's an all natural sweetening. Read labels, become a label reader. And so I'm going to be very picky about what type that I recommend to people, but you can get a very high quality, gummy. And by the way, this is convenience. We're not talking about doing this every single day. This is when you're going out the door, you need the convenience of it. The ones that we have, you can get them with ginger, and ginger is fantastic for helping with aid in digestion, which affects, the way that your blood glucose is and stuff. So you do have to be very careful. Read your labels. Make sure that it's from a natural source. You don't run red dye number 5 and blue dye number 6, in your gummies. So you have to be very careful about that. So that's a really good point, Tyler. Thanks for bringing that up, because you don't want to just go get any gummy, because a lot of them are full of a lot of, artificial sweeteners, artificial colorings, artificial flavors, and those are not going to be good for you.
Okay.
It's so funny that the apple cider vinegar gummies that I recommend, when you pop them in your mouth, people will swallow really fast. It's like, tastes like apple cider. I said, I told you it was an apple cider. You know what I mean? Like they kind of they have the same sort of burning sensation, so they're legit, they legit have the cider in them. So
what's the brand that you recommend?
I'm going to not recommend it just because it's something that's through the company that I work with. And I don't want to be like, I could recommend it, but I don't want to plug my company. You know what I mean? I've been a nutraceuticals.
Plug your company.
Hold on, I'll go get them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, plug your company. Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, I definitely want us to, these are things that we believe in, right? And so Stephanie works with this company. She's being honest that this is a company I work with, but this is what she uses. This is what she recommends to her clients. And so totally, definitely.
I don't want this to be like, oh, buy my stuff. So I've been a consultant for this company for almost 15 years. And the reason that I partnered with this company is because they align with what I believe in. And I was doing health and nutrition way before I ever got involved in this company. And there's a rare few companies out there. They're getting better, but there's a rare few companies out there that really are hyper vigilant about the source of their ingredients and what they're putting in them, all that type of stuff. So this one is, it is from shop.com, and it's the apple cider with vinegar and ginger gummies. And it's Market America's shop.com version. And I've been a consultant for them for years. And I just think they're amazing. I mean, I recommend this because, like I said, not everybody's going to go around and have, but they're little gummies, and they do taste like apple cider. And you can also taste the ginger in them too. I'm not going to lie to you.
I love that. I love the apple cider vinegar taste and ginger. The more my face puckers, the more I enjoy it.
Right. The sweetener that we use is cane sugar, which is better than your other types of sugars. You got to be very careful about your sugars, but that's just something that you can use. Just one thing that you can use. Obviously, it's more for convenience and more for compliance. A lot of people, ask me, why do you recommend that over, vinegar? And I don't recommend it over vinegar. But if you're working with somebody who talks about convenience being an issue for them because of their lifestyle and how busy they are, or compliance. Like some people are like, I cannot stand the smell of vinegar. I cannot stand the taste of ginger. If we can put it in a gummy form that's going to help you with your digestion and support you, it helps with compliance as well. So that's just something, to keep in mind.
Makes sense. Hey, yeah, it makes sense. And you know what? In that case, then if you're going to do the gummies, I would only go with that brand that's the only brand I would go with. Yeah.
Well, and I can put my website in the, when we get done with this, if we want to put a link to my website in there. But I wasn't trying to plug what I do or all that type of stuff. But if we want to put a link in there, I mean, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has. And, we can put a link to my website to that particular brand, like this gummy. I can put a link to this gummy, in our, materials, follow the podcast. If you guys want.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I would rather make it accessible for people, and then we can have an open discussion about it. And if they want to try it, then of course.
Yeah. And in all fairness, that is going to be my website. So, they always talk about being honest and open about what it is. It is mine. I've been a consultant with them for almost 15 years. So, there is actually some, monetary gain for me. I don't want to ever mislead people. You know what I mean? So I just want to be honest and upfront with people about that. So
totally. So if Stephanie's brought any value to your life, go buy gummies from the link.
Gummies. You got to be careful how you say that. Go buy gummies from Stephanie. You know what I mean? There's a lot of terms of gummies out there, Tyler. We're going to have people wondering what type of stuff I'm pushing,
Yes. If Stephanie's brought any value to your life, go buy those things. And even if you don't plan on eating them, just no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But yeah, so vinegar is a good tool to use. It's one of the tools in your toolkit. None of these are, outside of being very intentional about the order in which you eat your food, the rest of these are tools in your toolkit that can help along the way. Yeah. Another thing is if you get some sort of exercise before or after your meal. And by exercise, we were just talking about this before we hit record. Exercise doesn't always mean going to the gym for an hour and pushing yourself so hard. Exercise can mean going for a 10, 15-minute walk after your meal. Yeah. And I'll tell you this, if you're in a relationship, what a great way to bond with your partner after you have a meal and then just go for a walk around the block or through a park or whatever it is. Yeah. Great way to bond with people. But also that helps to limit the glucose spike as well, getting some form of movement.
Moving is huge. I was just telling Tyler, because he was telling me that he was finishing a workout. I love yoga. I will do a single sun salutation in between my appointments. Like, man, I got 5 minutes here. I'll literally do a sun salutation, get down, do the whole thing. There's something about opening up that body and moving it that helps flush that blood glucose, helps stabilize that blood glucose. So movement is really important. And so is breathing. it seems like everybody says it and everybody gets tired of people saying it, but doing some breathing oxygenates that blood, which helps carry that glucose to the places it needs to go, helps with the utilization of that glucose. Breathing is super important. If you can, take 2 or 3, full cleansing breaths, it modulates so much in your body, not just glucose. I know we're going to say this on every episode, aren't we, Tyler? Every single episode is going to be like, and you know what else you can do? Breathe, because it really is that important. And it's that simple and it's free, guys. Anybody can do it. You don't need any special tools. So I get on a soapbox on the breathing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a game changer, and most of us aren't breathing fully. We're going to do a whole episode on breath work, on breathing and breath work and things like that. And actually, I think on that episode, what we should do is go through a breath work routine together with people listening. Yeah. Of course, if you're driving, don't do breath work while you're driving unless you're doing like very simple, calm type stuff. But that's really important. And so the key things here are, one, let's not look at sugar as if it's good or bad, right? It's too complicated to just say it's good or bad. And the idea of going no sugar in the diet, I feel like it's an unreasonable goal, and it's not actually giving you what you want it to do for you. Right. But if you can just kind of change this perspective a little bit to, instead of eliminating sugar, just think about controlling the glucose spike. And the way that you do that is to change the order in which you eat your food. Start with the fibers, start with the proteins, start with the fats. You can mix them all together, but eat those first and then go to the carbs and then go to the sweets. And think about, your sweets more of as desserts instead of snacks, because you don't want to eat it on an empty stomach. You want to put it on top of something that's already there to slow down the absorption of that sugar. And then the tools in your tool belt, right? Being grateful for your food and really thinking about the energy of the food that you're eating. Incorporating vinegar and using vinegar before or after your meals. Getting some exercise or movement before or after your meals.
Drinking water with your meals will help.
Drinking water, right? Yeah, these things are really important. And when we say before or after your meals, the typical time frame is about 2 hours. If you've eaten fiber, like veggies, proteins, fats, within 2 hours, you're typically pretty good to enjoy your dessert, right? It doesn't mean, like, I know some people, they get full after their meal and they're like, well, I don't have room for my dessert. Where's the fun? You can wait an hour and you can eat your dessert after an hour. You have like a 2 hour window. So if you exercise within 2 hours of your meal, if you drink some vinegar water within 2 hours of your meal, have some fiber within 2 hours of your snack or dessert. These are all different things that will help to control these levels, and it makes a drastic difference on how you feel. I mean, talk about having just consistent energy throughout the day, not getting that crash throughout the day, not getting the migraines, the headaches, the brain fog. And then long term, you want to talk about like how to live longer and how to avoid these things that, cancer, heart disease, liver disease, Alzheimer's, things like that. This is going to go a very long way in not only giving you more longevity, allowing you to live longer, but also allowing you to live longer with more energy and capability to do the things that you want to do in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sugar plays a huge role. You mentioned something about Alzheimer's, and there's new research out there where they're calling Alzheimer's, there's diabetes 1, there's diabetes 2, and there's been some new research out there, and they're calling some of the aging things, as they're calling things like Alzheimer's and elderly dementia, they're calling it diabetes 3. And the reason for that is that they've discovered, when Tyler was talking about the coal that's being, shoveled in, and all of a sudden you load the system down, and there's so much coal that the little guy that's supposed to be putting the coal in the engine can't move because we've, loaded the system down. Well, what they've discovered is that when you get too much excess sugar in your system, that it actually starts to clog the neurotransmitter activity in your brain. And so you literally have these sugar crystals that form inside your brain. And that's one of the things that they're linking to Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. So, and the great thing about it is you can clean it out, because the body wants to be clean. And so by pulling back on that excess sugar, you can give yourself time, to break down those sugars and all that other type of stuff. So it's not just about, a pancreas issue. The other thing is you don't want to wear that pancreas out. Guys, you only got one pancreas. Take care of it. And if you overload the pancreas, because the pancreas is the organ in the body that produces insulin. Insulin is the hormone in the body that helps regulate blood sugar, for those listening that don't know that. So taking care of your pancreas, can be a really big deal as well. So I wanted to jump in. I wanted to jump in and talk about, we're talking a lot about food. I want to jump in and talk about how lifestyle can affect your blood glucose. These are those people that are like, Stephanie, Tyler, you wouldn't believe how well I regulate my food intake. I've heard it all before. I eat my fruits and vegetables. I don't sweeten my coffee. I rarely have a carb. And if I do, it's something like an apple or a sweet potato, because this was me. And the reason I'm sharing this story is this was me. I've been a health coach for almost 20 years, and I know how to eat correctly. I'm very blessed with the knowledge, and I feel very fortunate that I have that information. But I got when I was taking care of my mom, I did end of life care with my mother, and that was very stressful. And what happened was, after my mom passed away, I decided I would go back to my regular life without giving myself a break, without taking the time to recuperate my body and recognizing how hard and stressful that had been on me. And so, but I was doing all the right things. So I'm eating my asparagus, I'm having my salmon, I'm drinking my water. I went and got my blood sugar checked. This is like 3 years after my mom passed away. I went and got my blood sugar checked, and my A1C, which is what your blood sugar is over a 3-month window. That's what an A1C reading is. My A1C was ridiculously high, like borderline diabetic. And I was like, it was jaw-dropping for me, but it was also jaw-dropping for my physician, because my physician knows me personally, used to be a neighbor of mine, knows how I eat, knows that I, work out, at the gym a couple days a week, knows that I do yoga daily, knows that I go for walks. And so, we were both like, whoa, why is your A1C, which is your blood sugar, what it looks like over 3 months, so high? And the answer is that my stress level hadn't come down. And so in a chronic state of stress, you start producing all sorts of cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. And that spike in cortisol, tells the body that you need more. You're in fight or flight, you fight, flight, or freeze. It needs, you're in rescue mode, right? And so what'll happen is the body will release blood sugar, blood glucose stores into your bloodstream to help you, fight that bear, to help you run from that saber-toothed tiger, right? And so because my cortisol levels were so high, it literally affected my blood sugar. So managing stress, I know it sounds cliche and it seems to be the answer for everything we talk about, but managing stress can play a huge role in getting those blood glucose levels stabilized. So it's not just about what you put in your mouth. It's about what you have in your environment as well. And so I had to kind of step back and say, I know I'm doing well, but what am I not doing? And that is really taking the time to manage my stress level. After my mom passed away, I then became responsible for my dad. I'm his power of attorney, and he is paralyzed and blind from a stroke 20 years ago. So yeah, even though it was an emergency end of life care, there was still a lot of stress involved in caring for an elderly parent. And so I thought I'd let up my stress, but I hadn't let it up enough, for my body to stabilize, for those cortisol levels to come down, so that my insulin levels, so that my blood sugar could come down, so that the insulin could stabilize. So keep that in mind. If you're rushing from place to place to place and you're not giving yourself the sleep that you need, that's the other thing that can cause elevated cortisol levels, not getting enough sleep, stress. So it's not just about what you put in your mouth, because I know some people are going to listen to this and go, I've done all that and it's bullshit, because it doesn't fix it. And you need to say that there's so much more to it. So I want you looking at your stress level. The other thing I want you to consider, if you're one of those people that's like, I've tried everything to regulate my blood sugar naturally, and, now I'm going to have to, do something else. I want you to look at your gut. People with gut dysbiosis, with candida or yeast or fungus or parasite, growth, have a difficult time regulating that blood glucose as well. Because what happens is when you bring food into your intestinal tract and it's not being broken down effectively, and it's not being utilized effectively, it's not being broken down into the smallest particle necessary to be converted into that ATP energy that Tyler was talking about earlier, then that can go into the system and cause a stress response and can cause glucose levels to be elevated as well. Even when you're eating salmon and broccoli, for dinner, because the way the body's breaking it down or not breaking it down in this case can affect those levels. So if you're one of those people that's tried everything, I want you to look at your stress level, and I want you to consider taking, a serious look at your gut. There's all sorts of wonderful tests out there that you can take to see if you have some candida overgrowth. You can consult a physician in your area or look for an at-home test, or you're doing a stool sample or you're doing a urine sample that's going to tell you whether you have candida overgrowth, because that can affect your blood glucose well. So if you've tried everything and nothing's worked, I want you to consider looking at those things as well. So
that's good. Yeah. Think outside of the box. Yeah. Because a lot of times we get stuck on nutrition or, what are we eating so much, and we kind of ignore these other areas of our life and our health.
Yeah.
So
when it happened to me, I was surprised when she told me my A1C was high. I was like, no, girl, you got to follow me around. You got to see what I eat. There's no way. But that's what a stress will do to you. And that's what a gut that's not breaking down food effectively will do to you, And my third thing I'm going to add to that is allowing your digestion to rest long enough to clean house. We hear a lot about intermittent fasting, and it can, if done correctly and done well, it can be very effective. But giving your digestive system time to rest, even if it's just like 13 hours or 15-hour window. You stop eating at 7 p.m. tonight and you don't eat again until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. That would be an example. Eat or drink anything sugary. That allows the system time to clean house. And cleaning house will help that liver and that kidney and that gut get all that excess sugar out of the system. So keep in mind that if you've struggled with other stuff, you might consider, allowing that digestive tract to rest for a little while. But don't just jump on the intermittent fasting bandwagon, because you have to do it correctly. If you're a female, you have to be careful about your hormones and you don't interrupt your hormone cycles and stuff like that. So if you are going to do it, make sure you look into it and do it more effectively. But anybody can not eat the very second they wake up the next day. But there's something between 13 and 15 hours, allowing that digestive tract to rest can be very beneficial for flushing out the excess blood glucose.
Yeah, that's good. And if you want to go deeper down into the conversation of gut health or, how to manage stress or how to respond to stress, some of the last few episodes that we recorded, we talk on these things, right? Like, so the one titled, I don't even know what it's titled right now, but it's
the one on gut health.
For stress, if you listen to the episode that is when life feels heavy.
Oh yeah,
we're talking.
That's a good one.
We're talking about trauma, right? But it's similar, right? Because our body responds to stress almost like we respond to trauma, which is a little different. There's a difference. Of course, there's a difference, but we do share some really good thoughts and techniques there for managing and responding to stress. Also, we did an episode on gut health, but we were trying to be, cute with the title. So I think the title was, when in doubt, start here. If you don't know where to start on your health journey, start here.
Yeah, with gut
and
health.
That one is about gut health, and we go deeper down the topic of gut health. So you'll see those episodes are already published, and you can go further down those conversations. And if you do want to, if you're not sure, of course, always, involve your doctor in your conversations. And
Absolutely.
your doctor should be helping you to make these decisions. Also, if you do want to run some ideas by us, or if you want to get in contact with us to ask any questions, we do have the Powerful People Facebook community. You're welcome there. It's a free community. All of the hosts of the show are there in that community, along with many of our listeners. So you can get involved in conversations, ask questions, share your experiences, share your ideas, and we have some really cool conversations that that could be happening there, and they will be happening there, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we're health coaches. That's what we do. We coach people. We work with you and where you are, with your physicians, with your family, but it's all about coaching, providing resources for you guys to get healthy, to get happy, so don't hesitate to reach out, through our community. Totally.
Cool. Any last thoughts on sugar for this episode?
It's important. And I will just say one thing about, I live in the United States. Tyler, I know you live in Mexico City. I know that a lot of our other podcasters live, other places. But there's a lot of hidden sugars in a lot of our so-called health foods. So I just encourage people, the more that you can not just read labels, but the more that you can try to lean towards unprocessed, unpackaged foods, you're going to have to take the worry out of everything, because if you ever looked at an apple, it doesn't have an ingredient label, right? If you've ever looked at, your lettuce, it doesn't have an ingredient label. So, if you can think about the types of things that are more whole foods, when we say whole foods, it's, if you can grow it in a garden, if you can farm it on a farm, of course we prefer organic so that we don't have a lot of the pesticides and chemicals and stuff. But a lot of people are like, I don't know where to start. And a lot of my clients have intense sugar cravings. And if you're one of those people, you might consider having a candida test. It can be done through stool. It can be done through urine, because typically those people that have intense sugar cravings oftentimes can have some candida overgrowth. But if you're one of those people that says, you don't understand, I have to have my sugar or else I get angry, then fill your pantry up with fruits. Have your apples and oranges and bananas and grapes and strawberries and blueberries and raspberries and blackberries, and, make sure that you're reaching for something. Have your trail mix that's got your nuts in it, with your dried fruit and a little bit of dry, dark chocolate. Don't deny yourself, because that will throw you into a state of stress. You don't want to stress your body. I'm all about meeting people where they are, not throwing their bodies into stress. So, if that soothes you and levels out your mood, then make sure you have some healthy versions of snacks, of sweets around to support you in your journey. Don't just try to eliminate it. Don't go cold turkey, you guys. It's one of the hardest things on the body. No cold turkey. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And if you are going to bake things, you can use your organic ingredients, you can use, there's all sorts of great recipes out there now where you can do whole grain oats, with raisins and use bananas as sweeteners and stuff like that, so that you're not laying all that extra fake sugar on top of a snack. There's things like that you can do as well.
Totally. It's a great point. Yeah. Thank you for that. And keep an eye out for fructose, sucrose.
It's in everything.
Yeah, especially packaged goods. If you're reading the label, you often see high fructose corn syrup or, just that crap. No.
Yeah.
Try to avoid it if you can. And if you do enjoy it, if it's something that you really enjoy, like I like a bowl of cereal sometimes, right?
Who doesn't?
So,
yes.
Yeah, and a lot of them do have high fructose corn syrup in it. The idea is just use the strategies and tactics that we shared in this episode. Think about it more of a dessert. Have it after your meal, or have some vinegar before or after, or make sure you get some movement in before or after.
Yeah.
Just do what you can to limit your glucose levels, and promise you, do that for a month. We should do a month challenge, and people will be so addicted to how good that they feel.
Yeah.
That they won't, the cravings for sugar will be replaced by something that's a lot more empowering.
Yeah.
And fulfilling.
The spikes and falls can, they make you feel bad. And a lot of people don't realize that's what's making them feel bad. They just know they feel bad, And so when you start stabilizing that blood sugar, so it's just steady all the way across, it is shocking how much better you sleep, how much better you feel. And this is without denying yourself, your favorites. Tyler talked about, the tricks that we can use to do that. But stabilizing that glucose is huge in how you feel. Your mental and emotional outlook will change. Talk about a mental health boost. You stabilize those blood sugar glucose, man, it's a huge mental health boost. Huge. So it's connected to everything. That blood glucose is not just about a number on a lab test. It's literally about living your best life and feeling the best about, what you're doing. So, when we talk about these things, it's not so we can get really good numbers back from our labs. It's so that you guys can create lives where you feel like when you feel well, you do well. You know what I mean? When you feel better, you do better. And it's about us feeling well enough to do better. And, you can't live out your passions if you don't feel well. So this is about you finding something that, stabilizes you so that you can live the life you want, including hugging your children and going dancing and, because when you don't feel well, you don't want to do anything. All those fun things in life don't sound fun if you don't have the energy to do them. So this will help with those types of things.
And it's not too late. It's not too late
Never.
for you. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how tired you feel.
Never.
Especially if you feel extremely tired, if you feel like this has been going on for so long and I feel so bad, you're going to get the biggest, boost of, it's like if you go exercise for the first time in a while. Yeah. A little different because, if you exercise for the first time in a while, you might feel a little sore. You're going to feel so much better. But the more, especially if you're feeling extreme levels of, anxiety or fatigue or things like that, it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, it really will. It makes a huge difference. We try to think that it doesn't matter, but it does. What you put in your mouth and what you put in your mind really does matter. Yeah.
And the way that you feel affects me and everybody else. Right. So
it's a global thing. You raise the vibration of one person, you raise the vibration of the entire planet. We don't live in a vacuum. We're all connected. You're directly connected to the people in your household, but it expands into your work environment. It expands into your community, your neighborhood. It's huge. The vibrational impact that you have personally is huge. And we tend to think that we don't matter. I'm going to tell you, you do matter. You do matter a whole lot to everybody. We're all connected.
100%. So if you're listening to this and you think that, hey, maybe a monthly challenge might be a cool idea. If you're listening to this and you think that's a cool idea and you want to participate with us and we'll do a cool monthly balance your glucose levels challenge.
Sure.
Jump into the Facebook group, the Powerful People community group. Let us know there. And if enough people reach out, even if just one person reaches out, I'll do it anyways, right? Because it's going to be really fun and supportive for all of us. And you'll get a taste of how good it feels to do that. So let us know if you want to do that. Maybe that's something we can organize and we can do together as a community.
Yeah.
And besides that, that's all I've got here.
We're good.
Stephanie, thanks for the awesome thoughts and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, Tyler.
And hopefully those of you listening got a lot out of this and have kind of an actionable path forward. Just a heads up, I am, poor me, I am going to Japan next week. So I will not be on the next few episodes. But that's why we're a holistic health front. It's not just one person, it's a team, it's a group of us. So the holistic health front is going to keep the show going, but I will not be on the next few episodes. I will be busy eating delicious Japanese food and walking through gardens and cities and all that. So
so fun. I can't wait to hear about it when you get back.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to share.
Awesome. All right, everybody.
Well, thanks for listening today. We'll talk to you soon on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.